Hello everyone, welcome to Salesforce Helping Hand channel. My name is Val Prajapati. So in this today's video, we'll discuss about the future method interview question and answer, which are asked by almost all the developer interviews, right? It might be first round, second round. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen. I'll try to explain you all the questions and answer. Okay, yeah, this one. Yeah, so we have this it, guys. Okay, yeah. So the first question is, what is a feature method in Apex and where can we use it? Also explain the limitations, right? So if you see the definition, a feature method run asynchronously, that is very important. Okay. You can call feature method for executing long running operation such as call out to external web service or any operations you would like to run its own thread on its own time, right? Each feature method is queued and execute when system resource become available. That way, the execution of your code does not have to wait for the completion of long running operations, right? So next thing is like how you can, so this is the syntax guys for it, how you can make it visible in your Apex class. So you have to declare with @ notations features, right? If you want to make the call out, so you just allow call out is equals to true. Okay, if you want to make the call out from the feature method. Now let's keep with some key consideration for feature method. Method with the feature method donation must be static. It should not be dynamic or any return type. Can only return type void, right? It not supported any return type. The specified parameter must be primitive data type. That is also very important. Array of primitive data types or collections or primitive data types, right? It does not support non-primitive data types such as sObject records, right? You can invoke feature method the same way you invoke the any other method. So there is no any other specializations required. It's same like that. No more than 50 methods call as per the Apex invocations. You cannot do more than that. Asynchronous class such as feature method Apex called start, stop, block do not count against your limit for the number of queue job. Okay, that is also one of the advantage for it. The maximum number of feature method invocable as per 24 period, it will be 22,50,000 record, right? Now guys, let's move to the next question. Why sObject can be passed as an argument in the feature method, right? We always talk like we cannot pass the non-primitive data type, but interview can ask why is it? So the answer is the reason why sObject can't pass as argument to future method is that a subject might be changed between the time you call the method and the time it execute. In this case, the future method will get the old subject values, right, and might override them. To work with the subject that already exists in the database, pass the subject id, and using that as subject id we can just simply query and we can get the data. So that is the way we can do this. Now let's understand where we can use the future method, guys, right? So there are multiple ways. So first is avoid the CPU time limit error. Okay, in limit you can just more explore it. Okay, call out from the trigger whenever you need to call out from trigger, then also you need the feature method. Avoid mixed DML error operations always, like it will be used. And high governor limit, it provides some high governor limit. What could be the workaround for a subject type? To work with a subject bypass the, as you already discussed, so this is repeatable. How we can do call out in future methods? So as earlier I told you, we need to pass the call out is equals to true in future method, feature annotation, sorry, and then you will be here your all the logics for the call out, right? How can I call the feature method? So there is no special things are required. It will be as like you have the let's say feature method example class, and you have the method, and you can just pass the parameters there. That's it. How many feature method can be defined in a class? So it will be any number. There is no such restrictions on it, guys. Can we call one feature method from another feature method? No, that is not allowed in Salesforce, right? There are two kind of basically sObject in Salesforce when we talk about the mixed DML error, which is setup and non-setup, guys. So setup, non-setup objects are nothing but like account, opportunity, etc. And setup object is user, group, queue, etc. Right? Uh, so let's understand what are the mixed DML error and why do we encounter it. So we encounter this error whenever we are performing DML operation on the setup object and so non-setup object. So guys, I already explained you there are two types of sObjects, setup and non-setup. So setup is like user group and non-setup is account opportunity. So why we get the mixed DML error? Whenever we are performing DML operation setup and non-setup. So let's say you are performing the operation on user object on account object at the same time in a single transactions, due to which sharing is getting recalculated when the only we face this error. Let's take a look below code to understand it clearly, right? So let's say we have a one class for it, and then we have this instance of account, we are inserting the account, then we are doing the query, we are doing the user role and blah blah blah, right? So these users we are creating into the single transaction, if you see. So these all things are getting happening in the single transactions. So in that case we'll get this error, guys. So this error is nothing but it says system mix inserted failed, and this error you will get, right? So now the question is what are the ways to avoid the mixed DML error? To avoid the error, we need to convert this process from synchronous to asynchronous. So this will be always happening like when we have the process in synchronous. So we have to convert it in asynchronous using the feature method. So guys, there is one question. So you have a requirement to update a large number of record asynchronously in Salesforce. How would you accomplish this? To accomplish this scenario, I would implement this process asynchronously to avoid hitting the governor limit, right? So governor limit, we always need to keep in mind while we are writing the Apex code in Salesforce for the customization purpose. In this asynchronous process, I would try it with the feature method first. It will be not possible, then move to the other asynchronous. Let's say we have a queuable, we have a batch classes methods, right? So we can move accordingly. What is the limit on the number of feature method invocable per transactions, right? So the per transactions limit is invocable 50 record 50 feature methods we can do. Now the next question is how can we track the progress of future method? Is it possible? It is not possible to track the future method progress. It is going to execute. It's going to anything is going to happen, right? So is it possible to perform DML operations within a feature method? Yes, we can perform the DML operations in the feature method. However, we need to follow the best practice and try to avoid the hitting the governor limits, right? Next question is, can we call the feature from the batch? No, we cannot do that. Why do you feature method not returning anything? So this is something very important questions again. As the future is asynchronous, it will execute later when resources are available. So to avoid issue related to a transaction, Salesforce does not allow us to return anything in future, right? Can you schedule a feature to execute predictably? Means like you want, can you just do it like after 2 hours or every day, something like this? So the answer is no, we cannot schedule a feature methods. They are designed for one-time asynchronous execution trigger by specific event or invocations, right? Can you enqueue a feature method from trigger? Yes, we can call the feature method from trigger. However, we need to consider the governor limits. Next question is how do you test a feature method in Apex? So guys, to test the asynchronous process, we need to call our feature method between start to test.stop, because this is something always refresh our governor limit, right? So there is a things you can do you whenever you're writing the code like this. So test.stop, and you can keep your complete logic here, right? Next question is, suppose we have one class in which I'm iterating on record of length 100, right? In the iterations, I'm calling the future method. What will be the outcome? As we have the limit, right? Future method invoked per transaction is 100. It will be throw an error at 50th record, guys. Suppose I have a one trigger working on an update operations on the contact object, and I have written a feature call in operations. Now I have one batch class running the contact record and performing the DML on them. Will the future method will be invoked after the DML? As soon as my DML operation perform through the batch or future, it will throw an exception like the future method cannot be called future batch methods, right? So this is the answer for these questions, guys. Let's move to some important questions. How many future methods can we define in a class? That we already discussed. There is no restrictions. We can call any number of future methods, right? Now, guys, let's talk about what are the limitations of future method. So, limitation is it won't be process large set of data, right? So, as we have the batch classes, and secondly, we cannot schedule the future methods. Third one is it does not support the chaining, right? It only support the primitive data types. Tracking is not possible. It cannot call from the batch class, right? So these are the some limitations. Might be there are more. You can just go through with that. So let's understand the next question. So to consider a case, I have written a future call in the accounts trigger update operations, and I have a bad job running on account record. And does DML on them, will the future call will be invoked after DML? So let's understand the answers. Since you are in the batch context, right? And the trigger runs in the same context too. So as soon as account record get updated through the batch process through any future method, the trigger would throw an exception saying future method cannot be called from the future method cannot be called from the future method, as future method cannot be invoked from the batch method execution context, right? So this that in that way you will be get an error, guys. So in any case, I can call a feature method from a batch job. Calling a feature method is not allowed in the execute method, but we web service can be called. A web service can call an feature method. So we can define web service having a feature method invocations and call the web service from the batch, right? How many feature methods can we define in a class? Any number? So again, this is the repeat questions, guys. So let's say we have this global class, right? And we are writing the feature methods here. So how many feature methods call the above code invoke? The code is an invalid code, as feature method cannot invoke another feature method, right? Sometime they'll give you some kind of code and they will ask you these kind of questions. Then if I want to call a feature method from a feature method, what could be the solutions? Workaround could be calling as a web service that has the feature invocations. Next question is what are the other use case using a feature method? We can also use feature method for DML operation or different sObjects DML, guys. So that's all about this topic. We'll coming with the more sessions, guys, for queueable and schedule class that will I explain you. Okay, stay tuned to the Salesforce helping hand channel. Thank you.